Happy Monday! Today we're talking all about the formula for creating or repurposing engaging content on LinkedIn. So, more on that in a minute. How was your weekend? We just brought home an adorable English Bulldog puppy, and his name is Rocky. And we are definitely experiencing those new puppy parent moments with crate training, feeding, paper training, and a good number of middle of the night wake ups. He's a handsome little fella, and maybe I'll bring him on for a cameo soon. Now it is time for Mondays with Mindy. This is a weekly show on, you guessed it, Mondays, where I talk about all things LinkedIn pipeline, promo, and profiles, what I like to call the three P's of LinkedIn. So, do you have questions about LinkedIn that you want me to answer? Be sure to like this post, whether you're watching live or from the replay. Leave your questions below or shoot me a DM. I will answer them. Eventually, it may not be right away, but I will answer them after the show or on a future episode of Mondays with Mindy. Let's get right to today's topic. How do we actually create or repurpose content on LinkedIn that people actually care about? Should we start trying to hack the algorithm? What is the secret to content on LinkedIn? So, here we go. How often should you post to LinkedIn? I think that's one of the questions I get a lot. How do I get the algorithm to work for me? These are all common questions that we ask because we think that if we simply understand the how, we'll actually start doing it. Just tell me the answer, Mindy. What should I write? How long should my post be? Which hashtag should I use? But we're asking the wrong questions. You may be able to hack your way to a few viral posts on LinkedIn using these methods perfectly. I've seen it done by some self proclaimed experts and those following their advice. But the problem is, viral content does not usually lead to better relationships with your tribe, with your following, with your audience, your potential prospects. Quite often, it has the opposite effect, where you actually appear a little bit too unattainable and too untouchable, and that you're not able to pay enough attention to the individuals who comment on your post. Think about it. If you see a post, and that post has thousands of likes and maybe hundreds of comments, are you going to pipe in? Do you think the author is actually going to read your comment? You'd be lucky if they do. Some people actually do have the time to do that, but most people don't. So if you're in a business with a relationship based sales process, you must take into consideration that part of the premise to people wanting to do business with you is to feel like you're able to get into a conversation with them. You need to feel a little bit approachable. So, viral content may make you appear popular, but it won't necessarily help you get more one to one clients or necessarily attract those high paying corporate gigs that you all want. The online realm has changed. People who are seen as influencers don't often hold all the cards when it comes to building a great business anymore. They used to. A few years ago, that was a big thing, and that's how you got gigs. It's not that way so much anymore. It's the people who are more in the micro influencer realm who tend to have businesses they love. They choose the clients they want to work with, and they have the byproduct of enough revenue to specialize in doing what they enjoy and not the parts they don't like. So I don't know about you, but I'd much rather work with someone who looks like they have time for me if I get stuck. Not someone who's automated everything in their business and has a host of virtual assistants at their beck and call, handling their DMs at all hours of the day. So think from your customer's perspective, not what the social media experts tend to tell you because they're trying to sell you something, because we're all selling something, right? With our world as it is now, we are all looking for more of that personal connection with the people that we admire, the people we trust, and those we want to learn from. There's something really special about maintaining and valuing accessibility. If you don't yet have 10,000 plus followers, I don't, on your preferred channel, you're exactly where you need to be. Don't stress about it. Instead, you want to go deeper with your network. Write for them. Don't write to go viral. All right, so hey there. For those who don't know me, my name is Mindy Rosser. I'm the founder of Mindy Rosser Marketing, and I have a program called the LinkedIn Accelerator for those who want to go from 0 to 60 on LinkedIn with their profile and their network. I help superstars who feel they are the best kept secret in their industry to become the go to visible expert in their niche so they can get that next opportunity, grow their business, and scale their impact. In this live, we are going to talk about why not following the LinkedIn formula for irresistible content is causing you to dilute your message and write or repurpose that content that resonates with no one, and how you can actually deepen your relationships with your current network without ever needing to go viral, right? That's good news, right? You don't have to be popular or go viral to make this all work. So, are you ready? Let's do this. Go ahead and like this post, whether you're live or watching from the replay, to give it some social love. All right, so we have this obsession, and I call it the obsession with going viral or getting a massive following. And it is crushing experts left and right who are darn good at what they do and wasting way too much time doing content creation. We hear all these things like batching your content. That's brilliant, right? Do a bazillion podcasts or a bunch of these live streams all in one day, and you're going to get so much traction. But instead of focusing so much on the marketing of their businesses to attract a wider audience, they could actually go deeper with their current network and not stress about it and not have to see those numbers going up into infinity and beyond. So, this topic actually was brought up by one of my former program members inside the LinkedIn Accelerator, and it really had an impact on me. I was in the middle of explaining how to grow your network with the right people. I was showing all of these high converting connection requests. I was elaborating on the importance of the approach to new connections. How do you actually find all of these wonderful people? She raised her hand, a little virtual Zoom hand. It's like, Mindy, can I say something? Yes, you may. Mindy, I know I was supposed to research 5 to 10 new people that I want to connect with on LinkedIn. I know. But instead, what I actually did was I made a list of people I'm already connected to who are a perfect fit for my business. Is it okay to instead go deeper with them? Doesn't it make sense to nurture those existing connections instead of just adding more? I paused. It's hard to get me to pause. I talk very fast and I talk a lot. And I said, oh my goodness, that was a brilliant question. And it was very, very insightful. This same exact thing happens with our content. We work so hard to write content that has massive appeal to build our networks and expand our influence. Some of us spend thousands of dollars a month paying content writers to write content for us because we're just hoping that that right piece of content will get out there and we will see that avalanche effect. But because it's not written to go deeper with our existing network, we often miss the mark with people, the people that matter most to our business. All of those people who want to go down this path with us get stopped right from the beginning because we're just saying what everyone is saying and we're staying really shallow. We're staying surface level. We're almost afraid, a little bit afraid to go deeper. Like it starts to get a bit more vulnerable for us. We want to appeal to everyone. And like you've heard, like we've all heard, and in doing so, we appeal to no one. So we've heard that analogy before, but we forget. We forget about it when it comes to our content creation. So stop comparing yourself to that industry peer that you look up to is getting a bazillion likes and comments and shares on his or her piece of content. It doesn't affect your brand. It doesn't affect your business one bit. So stop stressing about it. Stop comparing yourself. What does affect you is that laser focus. It's a laser focus on what you do really, really well, and that deep seated passion to help those in your sphere of influence with your message. They like you as a human. They want to know what you stand for professionally. Speak to them. That is what is going to connect you with the good people who want to do good business with you. All right, so are you ready to find out what that looks like? You're like, Mindy, I get it. Okay. Deeper, not wider, focusing on my people that I already have. And the byproduct of that is a lot of times your networking is going to grow as a result because you're focused on the people you already have instead of just trying to get more and collect people. Like I say, collecting connections. Ugh. So getting attention of the right people is really not that hard. You may wonder what it looks like to approach content creation in this way. So we're going to talk about that. Yes, you do need to create some type of content for your audience that engages them and gets their attention. If you already are creating content, maybe you've done this already, then you can repurpose that content. So don't feel like you have to start from scratch. Look back through your content. You've probably heard this before, but look back through and see what was most engaged with. For example, I will look at my Squarespace. Every single week, what I do is I go in. Squarespace is where I host my website. I will look at the most popular pieces of content And literally, this takes me 30 seconds. I go in there and I look, I'm like, okay, that's just a kind of helpful thing to know when I'm thinking about the types of content my audience is interested in right now. So I check that every week. And then I take another 30, 60 seconds and I go into my email newsletter list. I send a weekly email every single week and I look at my numbers just to see how people engaged, how many people clicked it. I know these numbers are not perfect for those of you who nerd out on this email stuff. I know the open rate is not exactly accurate, but it is using the same metrics week over week. So I just look for trends. I look to see if a bunch of people unsubscribed, they really didn't like the topic, or if they just remembered they were on my list. Sometimes that happens. Or if people really engaged with the topic and click through to read the blog or watch the video. These are some really simple things that you can do that take 2 minutes. 2 minutes every single week just to keep your finger on the pulse for what your audience is interested in. Remember, the thing is, you don't need to get everyone's attention. You just need to speak to those whom your message resonates with. There are certain people that are attracted to you, and those are the people you are trying to reach. Sometimes you are not your target audience. So some of us are like, well, I'm tired of saying this. Okay, I'm tired of saying what I say, and I say it every single week. And you know what? That's okay. Because there is somebody who has never been introduced to me and they are hearing this content for the first time. And so I need to show up with that level of excitement and enthusiasm. And then I also come across as somebody who has been doing this for a while and as somewhat of an expert, I guess, in what I do because I have talked about it so often. And so it is hammered home. And when I say it with confidence because I have lived it for a decade plus. So it's okay. It's okay if you get a half dozen likes and just a few comments. If you want to see that, go look at my posts. Like, go through my activity stream. Not all of them have bazillions of comments, and I'm okay with that. So you treat those comments and likes as if they are gold because they are. Follow up with everyone in the comments or shoot them a DM, a direct message when they engage with you. The impact this has for me, for my clients, for my students is surprisingly powerful. If you want to learn how to hack the LinkedIn algorithm, I'm not your person. Okay, there are other experts out there who are really good at hacking the algorithm. They share all the data. They are nerds about this stuff. But if you want to create irresistible, engaging content that actually opens doors to real relationships with real humans whom you can help in your industry, this is my sweet spot. This is what we're getting into today. The biggest thing I want you to take away from this live is that it is not about your numbers. It is not about going wider with your audience just to get more. Yes, I pay attention to my numbers. I just mentioned that. But instead, it is really about your relationships. Paying attention to those numbers helps me understand the relationships that I am building with people through my content. It informs my relationships, but it is not dictating them. I am not creating content just because I want clicks. I'm not trying to feed my ego. I don't need ego feeding. This is about helping people. This is about my passion to share the knowledge I have built up over time with others. And because I approach it in that way, it hits people differently. So it's about your relationships with the people who are touched right now by your message, no matter if it's just a dozen people, if it's just 12 people who are listening to you every week. Value them, make sure that they feel heard. We all start somewhere. What kind of impact can you have on those dozen people? You have the opportunity to go deep if you want to. Your competitors are not. So that's the secret. Like, your competitors are not going deeper, they're going wider. So they look at those dozen people and say, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to sit here and wait. I'm going to wait till I have 1,000 people on my email list, then I'll start kind of paying attention and, maybe I'll write some content that's actually good instead of putting out junk. So they don't see these 12 people as individuals with hopes and dreams, but you do. You see them with your eyes, you watch their engagement, you go back and forth, you have good discussions with them. So let's talk about three ways that you can actually start creating this engaging LinkedIn content. This is not a writing how to, this is literally getting into the heads of people that you want to reach out to and really about the mindset that comes into creating content. Because if you don't have that mindset right, I know it sounds fluffy, but it is crucial. If it is not correct, and you are just following some LinkedIn content guide, I have come across some too where they are 365 LinkedIn posts that you can do in a year so you can post every day. And yes, you can follow those formulas, but it is going to sound like a robot. It's not going to sound like you. It's going to sound like marketing, you know what. So, what should you consider as you're approaching the creation, or if you're deciding whether to repurpose some content for your audience on LinkedIn? There are some basics when it comes to LinkedIn specifically that we'll talk about, but I'm not going to go, like I said, not into the nitty gritty, actual writing, actual formatting, character count, all of that stuff. That's what I teach inside my programs, but it's not as important as the mindset to how you are approaching content creation. So, number one, engage their emotional brain. So listen to them. Listen. We have two ears. Remember this? You've heard this as a little kid. You have two ears and only one mouth because you're supposed to listen twice as much as you talk. So listen to them on social media. Pay attention to the words they use, the struggles they face, how they're coping with things now, which solutions are working or not for them. Listen, listen, listen. You have to understand the emotional component to why they think what they think. You have to understand the emotional component to why they think what they think. Why? It's not just about what they think. You're like, well, they're wrong. No, why do they think that? Go down that path. Understand why. Because when you can understand why, then you can help them figure out where their limiting beliefs are, where their blocks are, where their misunderstanding is. If you cannot tap into this, you're going to get stuck in writing how to content. And how to content is out there. I called this a how to create engaging content on LinkedIn, but this is really not a how to step by step article. That content is just too tactical and it doesn't grab people. It doesn't help them tap into the emotions they're feeling. They don't feel heard. They don't feel seen. When you read a how to article, it's like, okay, step by step, I'll do this, step by step, I do this. But there's very little emotional component in most how to content. Think about the people that are captivating. When you think about it right now. Who is somebody that is just so captivating to listen to? You just like love listening to them talk. I think of people like Brene Brown. It's like when she talks, I listen. I listen with both ears wide open. I think she's fabulous. Or an Oprah Winfrey. I mean, she's great. She's not my style, but a lot of people I know really feel captivated when she speaks. She has a presence. She engages her audience. So how many step-by-step articles do they write? How many of those have you seen from Oprah or Brene Brown? Probably not that many. So they focus on eliciting that emotional reaction from people and really shifting perspectives. When I think of a Brene Brown or an Oprah Winfrey, they get people on, people come with a certain idea or a concept in their head. By the end of that interaction with Oprah, with Brene Brown, it's like you see things completely differently. It's like almost like you take off a pair of glasses and put on like another pair of glasses. So they focus on eliciting that emotional reaction. They focus on that perspective shift through the types of content they create. They also entertain. They also challenge. They challenge ideas. They challenge concepts. And they ask a lot of questions and they listen a lot. I feel like they listen so well. And I think that is very, very magical when it comes to creating really good content. People can tell if you're listening or if you're just waiting for your chance to talk. So pay attention. It matters. Engage their emotional brain. Number two, speak their language. So speaking their language shows that you care about them. Many of us tend to default to industry jargon, which I'm guilty of. I start using industry terms that my peers may use, but that other people are like, what is she saying? I have no idea. Social selling, like, what is it? Is that a thing? I have to Google that. So many of us tend to default to this, but we have to be really, really careful, either consciously or unconsciously, because we don't want to alienate our audience. We really want our people to feel heard. We should be using the words that they use. We all do this. We're all guilty. I'm guilty. Okay. We start to use phrases that are familiar to us, but either feel a little bit hard for our people to grasp, or they make us feel, again, unattainable or out of touch with where they are. Sometimes we are so far down the road we're on that we forget where we started and how we need to help our audience get to the next step. They don't need to get all the way down that path. They just need to get to the next step. So we have to meet them where they are. You're going for approachable with your content, not over their head. You're not trying to impress people with how smart you are. This is about approachability, practicality, and really speaking their language. You are not that highfalutin expert giving directions. You're the one who's right next to them in the trenches, working alongside them to figure things out. You're not sitting there shouting directions, you are down there working with them. And that comes through in your content too. Yes, you want to have authority. Yes, having and developing expertise is important, but you also need to speak their language. Use the words they use. When they use certain phrases, screenshot them. Like if you are just learning this or you're just getting to know a new audience, maybe you've kind of shifted directions with your business, you're focusing on a different aspect, pay attention. I screenshot things. When people say things, I'm like, huh, I never thought about it from that direction. I never would have used that verbiage. I will actually screenshot it. I will put it in a file. And when I'm writing copy, when I'm writing emails, when I'm putting together content like this, I will look at those screenshots so I can make sure that I am using words that my people use. So they know exactly how I am speaking and how this applies to them and what the meaning is behind it. So we study, we listen, and repeat. Again, this comes back to listening. You can't speak their language unless you listen to their language. So again, 2 ears, one mouth. All right. Number three, and finally, envision your ideal person. So instead of trying to write or do a video like this for a group of people, you're like thinking about all these people in the audience, choose just one. Like think about just one person in your audience. Sometimes what I will do is I will actually look at their LinkedIn profile before I start doing one of these lives, especially if it's somebody who requested a piece of content. Last week's episode, or 2 weeks ago from this episode, it was requested by somebody that I've had a lot of DMs back and forth, and we have had a lot of interaction. And so before I did the live, I looked at his profile, I looked at our interaction, and I thought, okay, what would he like to see covered in this? Let me really get into his head. Am I addressing all of the questions that he may have? Because that is really, really important to me. So when I craft these lives, I picture that one specific person. And I also think, okay, he probably has some friends. I start thinking about what his friends and colleagues may look like, who his connections are. Sometimes actually we'll go look at some of their connections. And I will think about inspiring and really being helpful and providing value. I don't want to waste people's time. And when you approach your content with that attitude, with that perspective, it comes through. People can feel you. They can feel your energy. They can feel the thoughtfulness that comes through your content instead of either being so self absorbed, like, how do I look? Am I okay? Is my lighting all right? Is my makeup okay? Did I wear the right clothes? Is my hair all right? Do I have a dreadlock sticking out? I've been through some lives where like I had one stubborn dreadlock that just kept sticking out, but you just got to keep going with your content. It is not about you. This is about helping your people. This is really about channeling your energy and giving, giving, giving. When you approach your content this way, it has that feeling of vulnerability to it that you just cannot get when you're trying to write an announcement for a massive group of people, or again, try to create a piece of viral content. So develop and cultivate that depth of understanding. Just like my program participant mentioned earlier, she really wanted to go deeper with her network rather than just keeping things surface level and broad. And guess who's going to have more long term success? Who's going to work with the best clients and customers? You are, because you took the time. You are thinking about your people. You are delivering that content. You are making time and space to show up as your best version of yourself and share your knowledge. So, tying this all together, your goal is to create meaningful one on one connections with your LinkedIn network, the people inside around your areas of passion and expertise, not just trying to get those random comments from people simply because you wrote something that was shareable. You posted a cute picture and people commented, or you wrote something that was very marketing jargon like, and you went viral for some reason. My challenge for you: write one meaningful piece of content to one person in your network this week. All right, so one meaningful piece of content. This can be anything from a DM, like you just want to send a thoughtful message to someone. You could write a LinkedIn recommendation. That's a piece of content. You could share something on LinkedIn and thank some people. I've seen some of those posts. Sometimes they can feel a little bit self serving, so be careful if you're doing like a public thank you, but those ones can be appropriate. Or you can create a piece of content like this, start a LinkedIn live show. You could also do a LinkedIn newsletter, but write one meaningful piece of content to one person in your network this week. If you do that, if you take me up on that challenge, I would love to see it, but if you don't want to share it, that's fine. Or feel free to tag me in the comments if you post it publicly, because I would just love to know. I think the more of us on LinkedIn doing good things, showing gratitude, serving our people, the better. All right. So that's my challenge for you this week. And then for those of you who are looking for that extra edge to get started on the right path with your LinkedIn network, I actually have a free LinkedIn profile guide. Some of you may have seen it on my LinkedIn profile before. You can find it there, or you can just screenshot the link that is scrolling across the screen. I will also put it in the comments, but this will help you dial in the most important sections of your LinkedIn profile. It will also have 3 mini training videos for you to kind of talk you through the most important sections so that you can feel confident in growing your network and really building irresistible, engaging content. So I will see you all next week on Mondays with Mindy. Feel free to leave any questions or comments below, and my inbox is always open. If you want to message me directly, I will speak with you all then. Have a beautiful rest of your week, and bye for now.